get me through. But it's not easy. So bear with me. I'll do what I can. Yeah. So my name is John Kennedy. I've been, I guess, 30 plus years with the public service with respect to federal and provincial governments and also the nonprofit sector. I guess from the federal side of things, I've worked with Canada Energy Regulator and Indigenous Services Canada. My involvement with McGill currently, I'm the Indigenous curriculum consultant on the new STEM program that's under development. And also, I have taught CPAG 400 in the past, managing in public and nonprofit organizations, CPL 534, leading in diverse and global workplaces, and actually, I might have gotten those mixed up. Sorry, managing public and nonprofit organizations, CGMG 305. I had the course syllabus there just to try to remember the numbers. But yeah, so it's I've been teaching with McGill for the last couple of years, and yeah, the PAG program is great, and there's not much more I can say other than that. It's great. It's been a great experience, and I look forward to any questions or other comments where I can jump in.
Thank you very much, John. And lastly, we have Natalie Michel.
Hello, everyone. I'm Natalie Michel. I have been working teaching at McGill for a couple of years now, and with this program more recently, a few years already. I teach the human factor in business. I teach organizational behavior, leading change. I've taught diversity and inclusion also. When I'm not teaching at McGill, which is just a few hours a day, I work with organizations to help develop their talent, the talent that they have, and make sure that everyone that's working there can really reach their full potential for the better of the organization and for the better of that individual also. So I love this program. I love what comes out of it, and I'm eager to listen to the rest of the meeting today.
Thank you very much, Natalie Michel. And lastly, I'll have my colleague Antoine Gagnon from the Indigenous Relations Initiative introduce himself.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here tonight, for taking time out of your very busy lives, especially in the evening. We really appreciate it. My name is Antoine Gagnon. I'm the program administrator for the Indigenous Relations Initiative, which is just to say that I'm the main point of contact of all Indigenous students at SCS. So I'm basically the guy who's here to make your life as easy as possible as a McGill student whenever you join the School of Continuing Studies. So I'm very excited to share the public administration program with all of you guys and the great opportunity of the Indigenous Tuition Award. And so super excited to go over this meeting with you guys and learn more about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Antoine. We'll now move on to the description of the program, and I'll hand that over to Nadej to go through the program and its curriculum.
Thank you, Avery. Yes, the curriculum, but I think the question that you might all ask yourself is, what's in for me, why you are here, why this program is for me, and am I in the right place, right? Well, let me give you some background. First of all, while the public sector is growing, only in Quebec, we have more than 3.6 million employees, right? The program might either advance your career. So if you are in the beginning of your career, you can get core competencies that will help you to advance your career, to get managerial position, leadership position, or that help you transition towards the public sector. You've got a choice. We have currently two programs. We have the certificate at the undergrad level and diploma in public administration and governance. Both programs are online, 100% online, synchronous and asynchronous. Why it's important? That offers you flexibility. So you can take courses from your home, from your workplace, or from the community. Full-time or part-time. So again, lots of flexibility here. And we've got some examples in public administration that include you can work as a community worker, as education administrator, government officer, government administrator, social services manager, etc. More details are, of course, available in our brochures that will be shared. The link will be shared with all information on our website, our brochures, and all other information. Next slide. Speaking of the curriculum, so the program, the certificate has 10 required courses, which is equivalent of 30 credits at the School of Continuing Studies. And what's in for you? Well, the program will help you to first navigate in public and nonprofit organizations. It will help you to manage teams, diverse teams, organizational teams. You will have when you work in public sector, you will have to understand financial statements. So the program will also help you to understand financial statement, to read financial statement, budgets, costing, responsible accounting statements. You will learn how to plan, how to schedule and develop different projects. Also understand legal issues related to Canada's public sector. And also facilitate strategic thinking, planning, and organization, which is one of the key competencies this day. So in certificates, impact information is here. As I mentioned earlier, we'll also have diploma in administration and governance. It is currently under review. So more information will be available shortly on our website. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadej. And now just to go have an overview of the admission requirements. So it's broken down really into two categories. So it might be very case by case. And what we would always recommend is giving our admissions office a call for any sort of details on your specific situation. But generally, if you have gone to CEGEP or outside of Quebec, this would be having a high school diploma. That would be what you would need to submit as part of your document for your official transcripts. Or there is the option of applying to the School of Continuing Studies if you're over 21 as a mature student, should you ever be in a situation where CEGEP wasn't an option, or if you hadn't gone to CEGEP. But of course, the School of Continuing Studies admissions office will be the best point of contact for any sort of specific case-by-case situations, especially if it's dependent on which province you are or where you may have done your schooling. So their information is here, and the slides will be shared with all of you, so you can have the resources and contact information, which is also annexed at the end of this slide. So now I'm going to hand it back to Antoine to discuss the Indigenous Relations Initiative and the Indigenous Tuitions Award.
Yes, thank you, Avery. So I'm basically here to introduce you all to IRI, which basically is the acronym for Indigenous Relations Initiative. And we are basically the one-stop shop for everything Indigenous at the School of Continuing Studies. So basically, we are the School of Continuing Studies' response to the university's broader commitment to reconciliation. In response to the 2015 Truth and Reconciliation Commission, our unit was more formalized in 2020, although we've been involved in partnerships and Indigenous programming with longstanding partnerships for years in the past. So we have a lot of experience, and there's an interesting fact about Indigenous learning at the School of Continuing Studies is that over 1/3 of all Indigenous students at McGill actually study actively at the School of Continuing Studies, which is almost over 350 Indigenous learners. So that's a big population of students. So basically, we've developed a strategic plan in response to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada in 2015. And in 2017, the school published the final report of the Task Force on Indigenous Studies and Indigenous Education, which contained a lot of points in which McGill must do better to accommodate its campus and its curriculum and its education for all Indigenous populations and make it a better experience for all Indigenous peoples across Quebec. And so basically, our unit was formalized in 2020 to become really a support system for Indigenous students that come at McGill. And that's what we do still to this day. So I'll go to next slide. So basically, we offer a wide variety of support services, a big network of services for Indigenous students, just to make the experience more interesting and easier. As we all know, as a McGill student myself, I know it can be very daunting to study at McGill, and it can be a bit intimidating. So we try to make the experience as easy as possible. So I just want to talk quickly about some of those support services. The first one of them is the personal coaching service. It's a really, really important, very successful service that we've had specifically for Indigenous students at SCS, which consists of putting you in touch with professional, certified from the International Coaching Federation, professional coaches that can help you in your careers by meeting with you one-on-one to work on CV development, to work on CV development, career advice, anything that you might be going on in your personal life. They basically become a coach that is here to help you and support you. So that's a very interesting service we have. We have tutoring services that are completely free for Indigenous students at SCS. So if some of these courses that you heard about might seem a bit intimidating at first, we have tutors available completely free of charge to help you throughout your courses and make sure that you can deal with the content and that you're ready to tackle it. Another interesting thing that we have is a lot of scholarships, fundings, and bursaries for Indigenous students, which I'll talk a bit more at length in the next slide. Of course, we have a lot of other services, which include the Writing Center, the Career and Transition Services, and the Office for Students with Disabilities. And these all kind of become a foundation of services which students can lean on whatever they might be going through to make sure they have the support they need. But basically, another important service is our existence itself, and my role at McGill really is to be your first point of contact. And I see, Lisa, I see your question right now, and I'd like to address it right now because it's a very good question. Are these services available online? Absolutely. And our role for online students that are not on campus is really to still give you that feeling of being here with us. And you can reach us anytime through email, through phone. I'm really the person that you can reach to make sure that you have access to these services. And they're all free of charge for Indigenous students. So whatever you feel like you need, you can come and talk to me, and I'll make sure to direct you in the right direction. So we'll go to the next slide. So one of the really nice things that SCS has just launched also to make the public administration and governance program even more inclusive to Indigenous populations across Canada is the Indigenous Tuition Award. And that specifically applies to Indigenous potential learners outside of the province of Quebec. And basically, it's an opportunity where the university is accepted to take on quite a big chunk of the tuition fees that are implicated in studying inside the program for each of the course, and take them so the fees are reduced to what they would be for a student that is not studying in an online program. So basically, as you see on the slide, the award covers this difference between what is deregulated tuition for out-of-province student in online programs and brings it back to a more regular rate. So as you can see, normally for out-of-province students that are interested in studying online at McGill in this program, the cost would be over $3,000, but the university has accepted to cover this entire part, which brings it down to about $900 per course. So we're encouraging any of you that might be outside of Quebec to reach out to us. And I'll put on these slides, you'll have our emails, our telephone numbers, everything. I encourage you to reach out to us and learn more about how you can apply to this award. It's a very easy application process, and we really much encourage you to do so and take the chance to become one of the awardees and follow the program at a much lesser cost that it would cost normally. Now that that's being said, I still want to say for all of you that might be here with us in Quebec, that even for Quebec students whose rates are a bit smaller, we even then offer a lot of scholarships and bursaries for Quebec students. So if you're interested in having some of your courses covered, the financial costs reduced, highly reduced for some of your courses, and still be a McGill student, please reach out to us. We have a lot of things to offer to Indigenous students in particular. So we really encourage you to reach out and learn more about these opportunities. So I'll go to the next slide. Oh, perfect. I think that's all for me. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much, Antoine. So now we will move into our panel discussion with our panelists, and I will be moderating and opening the floor with the first question, which is, what are the key competencies required in the field of public administration? So for this first question, I will ask one of our panelists to answer, and then we will hand it off to somebody else. Yes, go for it, John.
Okay, all right. I just want to lower my hand there. Let me see. Am I not? Okay, I'm able to speak there. I wasn't sure if I was still muted. Okay. I would say, and this is where you know, the PAG program really comes in, especially the courses that I've taught with the CPAG 400 and CPL2 534, both of which are aimed at again, cross-cultural communication and diversity in the workplace. You know, the federal public service is getting to be more diverse, and the you know, the percentages. You know, if you look at any of the TBS Treasury Board Secretariat reports that come out, you know, just over the last 20 years, if I were to pick one of the marginalized groups, underrepresented groups, say visible minorities, for example, who have self-identified visible minorities, you know, in that particular category, like right now, it's a little over 20% as of the last fiscal year, March 31st of 2022. So, you know, you look at in terms of representation across all the federal public service, and, you know, you look at 20 years prior to that, 22 years prior to that, it was like 5.5%. You know, so it's, you know, you look, and that's just one category, for example, you know, so, you know, you can look at other categories. Every, I guess, you know, category, if you want to say, you know, is a culture or a subculture. You know, if you're speaking with somebody who, you know, is a person with a disability, if you're speaking to someone who is from the Indigenous population, you know, it's a meeting of cultures cross-culturally, and you know, knowing how to you know, effectively you know, work with persons, manage persons who are, you know, in different cultural contexts helps a great deal. And I know, like I say, in the courses that I've had the privilege of teaching in the PAG program, it does, you know, enlighten and illuminate that aspect. So yeah, I would say, again, cross-cultural communication for a workplace which is becoming increasingly diverse. That would be my answer.
Thank you
I
very
can go
much, John.
next.
Yes, of course,
if you
Patricia.
want, Avery. Yeah. I think nowadays people need to have a lot of competencies on financial and accounting skills. Yeah, I will say, unfortunately, for those that do not like a little bit of math, accounting language is the language that we require to talk. When you're looking at reports, when you're looking at like Nadesh was saying, you always receive reports from one of the departments that potentially are looking at the budgeting, for example. And you need to have those skills to understand what they are talking about. And when you start growing in your career and getting more and more responsibilities and taking leadership roles, you also need to understand not to calculate themselves, but you need to understand how to interpret it themselves. So my answer will be that accounting and financial language is one of the competencies that you will require for the public administration field.
Thank you very much, Patricia. And we have time for, yeah, Natalie Michelle.
I'm going to build on what John and Patricia has just said, and I would add to say that once you understand and you have the language, the number language, and you understand how to work with other people, you need to be able to do something with that. So you need to have leadership skills. You need to have a way to communicate your ideas and communicate the change perhaps that you want to bring about. So what we do in the organizational behavior class and the leading change class is very much focused on bringing out the talent that you have and bringing out your leadership skills, what makes a good leader, how to communicate effectively. Because you may be brilliant, but if you can't influence others, if you can't convince others, if you can't make others see what you see, then you're not going to help that organization. You're not going to create the change, and you're not going to reach your potential. So we look at that a lot when we do the organizational behavior classes and the leading change classes.
Thank you very much, Natalie Michel. And we will move to the next question. So the public sector is rapidly evolving and facing challenges. How does the McGill program equip students to better respond to emerging challenges such as diversity and inclusion in public administration? And for all of our panelists, you can also relate this to your field of expertise and even the content of the courses you teach.
Well, since I'm already unmuted, maybe I can go ahead and we can do the reverse order if that's okay. In the PAC program and the classes that I teach, and I don't want to speak with my colleagues, but I'm sure it's the philosophy of the program anyways, is when we're looking at cases, when we're case studies, we really look at cases that are relevant to the public sector. We try to not take examples and cases of businesses that are so far removed from the public sector. I often use exercises and simulations, and to say, okay, in this situation, this could be a situation that happens in the public sector in the organization for which you're working currently, or that you've worked for before. How would you handle it? How is it usually handled? So I try to bring a lot of real life examples in the classroom of what's happening in the public sector. So it's real hands-on. It's not theory book heavy. You need theory because it's a university class, but we're focusing on applying it real life.
If I can continue with that idea, I think also that all the courses are interconnected. We are not just talking about the numbers without talking about leadership skills, or how to read or how to understand the strategy of a public entity. So I think all the classes are interconnected, even though we tend to focus on what our course will be. But the whole idea of how you are facing a challenge in the public sector, we see on those cases. It's not that we are just focusing on numbers. We are just making that whole. So I think that's the one of the key things that McGill program gives, is the holistic approach that the program has.
All right, I guess I'll chime in next. Yeah, I guess building on Patricia and what Natalie has also indicated, I think it's very much the application piece. And I look at the courses that again I've had the good fortune of teaching, the simulations, for example. Students get into the roles. They look at and this could be whether it be private business, public sector actors, you name it. And basically it's a way of being able to respond effectively, respond effectively as well to what is happening in a particular negotiation exercise. And yeah, I mean it's great exercises, especially through through Northwestern University, through the Kellogg Institute, that are part of the curriculum for those simulations. So it does actually, it's sort of the tangible, rubber hits the road. Okay, let's apply what we've learned. So taking theory and putting it into practice, and the students get into it. They put on their game faces, they dress for it, and it's serious stuff. So it's great. I mean, they're trying to reach a negotiated agreement. And there's pros, there's cons, there's consequences, and it's as close to to real life as you're going to get. So yeah, that bringing together of what's been learned in class and actually putting it all out there in a practice simulation is great to see.
Thank you very much. And Nadej?
Thank you, Avery. My colleagues has said it all. It's really practicality, using real cases, real life examples. All our lectures, instructors are practitioners. They have their full-time jobs. So when they come in class, they share their examples with the students. And we also make sure that these examples are appealing to the students. So depending on the audience, they're not business related, they're public sector related examples. And I'll leave it here. We have 2 more questions and I'm mindful of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll move on to our next question, which is a little bit more on a personal note, but could you share some key lessons you have learned during your career in public administration? So John, maybe you can start off with this question.
Yeah, now where do I begin? Yeah, I guess it comes down to, again, communication. As I sometimes say to persons, not necessarily in the context of this program, but when it comes to being able to communicate in writing effectively to to senior management, and often you're charged with the responsibility of getting something out the door fairly quick. You've got to be able to take it, and the same thing can be like with a case study. You have to be able to go through it fairly quickly and be able to respond to it. And I somewhat, I guess, I wear the government hat all the time to a certain extent. When I talk to students in class, I say, think about what it is that you're going to say and frame it up that way, and don't leave any big dangling question marks, because I'm the instructor, especially when it comes to grading a product. Put it so that I can see it, and you don't have to belabor a point and dance around too much. Have it laid out so that I can easily tell where it is, what it is you're saying, and sometimes that means being a little bit more short and succinct and to the point, but put it all out there and substantiate your evidence as well. So if folks on this call are familiar with like a briefing note, whether it be in the federal or provincial public service, that's what's looked at by senior management. Is sort of like comprehensiveness and brevity on the corner of a postage stamp. You've got to be able to answer and address everything that's required, but at the same time, they don't want to see something that's 20 pages long. It's perhaps 1 to 2 to 3 pages. So I say that to students, to say that that's something that when you do get into public administration, that that's very very important and is looked upon very favorably. So being able to tell a story without without dragging it on and putting in pertinent facts and details. So that's I guess that's one of the lessons that I've learned, and that's a balance too between the academic that's in me as well as the government worker. And I've had my thesis supervisor say, you write too much like a government worker, and then I've had vice versa as well. So it's that balance, and being able to find that balance, I guess.
If I can go next, Avery, there's 2 key lessons that I really learned in my career. The first one is I never stop studying. Learning for me is really the main tool that helped me navigate all the different challenges in life. And the second thing is, whatever I learn, it has to be applied under a context. The context will change. Whatever you learn, you will apply it in different ways depending on the context. And that is something that from the beginning of any class, whenever you're going to learn some key tools in your career, you need to make sure to read the environment so you're going to be able to apply them. So those are the 2 key questions, the 2 key lessons that I learned.
I think what I would like to say is, for me, I mean, all these lessons are all valuable. If I needed to add something, if I would add that you can't navigate the system, you can't bring change if you don't understand the complexity of the system. And one of the things that we do in these classes is try to understand the structure, the different stakeholders, the different relationships, the power system, the structure of these organizations, so that you can, when you understand the complexity of it, then you know how to address this issue or that issue. You know where to go. You know who to form an alliance with. You wouldn't go, well, I wouldn't go in the forest without knowing anything about the forest, without knowing, what kind of animals, what kind of trees are there, what kind of weather I should expect, what is the land like? Is it slippery? Is it wet? I wouldn't do that. So I think that when you're working in such a big machine as public administration, sometimes it can be really big. You need to understand the complexity of it to be able to work in it and, change it if that's what you want it to do.
Thank you very much for your input on that. And we will move to our last question. So what is the one piece of advice you would give someone interested in or just starting off their careers in public administration? So I'll give you a moment to think of that one piece of advice you might give to someone just starting off or looking to start their careers.
Enroll in the CPAC program at McGill. That would be my advice. One of the I'm sorry, John, I went ahead. I just thought I had a, because you learn. So we've been talking about us, producer John, myself, and Nadej, we've been talking about when we teach the classes and all of that, but we're not the center of the class. There are 10, 15, 20 students with you, and they have experiences, and they work, or they have worked, or they will work, and they bring that experience too. So you're not just getting like one teacher, you're getting 20 people that you can share with their experience and learn, exponentially. So I guess, learning all the time and learning from others, I think that would be, and you can do that by enrolling in the program.
All right. I guess in terms of a piece of advice, I think traditionally, public administration, various levels of government have been looked at as being, a sort of, stodgy, sort of old, antiquated system. And, I think, from my experience, these days it's changing. And in terms of the diversity and inclusion piece, that is a big thing. And I think that's why policies are being challenged, and it's a responsiveness as well to the composition of who are the people in your neighborhood. It's becoming more reflective of the people who it's meant to serve, the government machine as such. So personally speaking, I wear my Halbu First Nation, Mi'kmaq, hat, originally, as I always say, from the west coast of the east coast, from Cornbrook, Newfoundland. So I wear that hat proudly. I also represent the disability population. And again, I work with the Federal Public Service. And my wife, she's not here right now, but she wouldn't mind if I said this, but she represents the visible minority population and gender, the female population. So collectively, we take in the underrepresented groups, I guess, that the Federal Public Service are trying to target and get more involved in public administration. So I guess the advice that I would pass along to persons would be, don't let some of the old, stereotypes of public administration and government and of that nature, dissuade you from getting involved. It's a place where change can happen, change is happening, and it's meant to be more. It's becoming more and more diverse and inclusive every year. The stats show it, and just the general vibe of where things are going. So that would be my advice to those who are interested, as well as, again, the PAG program. Double thumbs up here.
If I can give one advice to everybody is get comfortable with the uncomfortable, because every single day is not the same, and it shouldn't be the same, because the way that you're gonna feel that you're growing is because you're getting out of your comfort zone. When you don't get out of that, then you cannot say you're growing. So get comfortable with that, and start one day at a time, just one day at a time, one class at a time. I think the hardest part is just to say, I will begin, because once you are there, you will never stop. So that will be my advice to all of you.
And Nadej, if you don't mind just giving your one piece of advice.
Oh, my my advice was in the chat: never stop learning. Enroll into public administration and governance program. Share your knowledge. Learn from the others. We'll learn from each other. That would be my advice.
Thank you very much. And with that, I would like to thank our panelists for all their insights and all their contribution to this information session. It's been very much insightful. Now we do have some time for the question and answer period, and this will be for you to either write your questions in the chat, and myself and Antoine will check on them, or if you raise your hand with the Zoom icon, we can get to your question. Just for those who might not have the time to stay till the end, our slides will be shared with you, and as I said, we do have our contact information and the resources that you can use to get in contact with us. So with that, we'll move to the questions, and I'll stop sharing my screen. So I think we have the first question from Georgia Brackett. What is the duration of the program on a part-time basis and the cost? So with respect to the duration, that really all does depend on the number of courses that you would take per semester. Full-time is considered 4 or more courses. So that would be 12 or more courses. This is a 30 credit program. So depending on whether you take 1, 2, or 3 courses, it might affect the duration by semester. And in terms of cost, depending on the bursaries awards that you might be receiving, and of course, the province, whether you're inside or outside of Quebec, that would affect it. But if you would like more information on that, I would recommend that you either email us or the admissions office just to get more of a specific quote on that, depending on the situation and what you might be eligible for in terms of bursaries and awards, as I said. So I see that someone has a hand up.
It's me.
Nadej? Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much. Just maybe to add to what you were saying, I invite everyone to reach out to us, and we can admissions, us, administration governance, us, IRI as a team. So we will be able to work on your study plan. So we can work on, depending on your situation, where you are at your life, where you're at your career. We can think of a reasonable number of courses we would recommend you to take per semester, given your workload, with the target to graduate. So we can discuss that in one-on-one.
Thank you very much for adding that, Nadej. Just reading through the chat to see if there are other questions.
Yeah, I think Holly is our next question. When is the deadline to apply for the program?
Yes, so the application deadline for Canadian citizens and Quebec permanent residents for the fall session is May 1st. And I believe it is September 1st for the winter 2024 semester. Again, the exact dates will be on the website, but for the fall 23 semester, I believe the admission deadline is May 1st for Canadian and permanent residents.
And if I can add to that, Ollie and everyone who might have the same question, I wouldn't worry too much about the deadline to apply at all, because what often a lot of Indigenous students or a lot of people in general in the program do is that they can start the program at any time by registering to courses as a special student first and then applying at a later date. So if you're still interested, for example, to start as soon as this summer 2023 or this fall 2023, whenever you're ready, the summer semester, the courses start on May 4th, and the fall semester, they start in September. But if you're interested in starting earlier, then please reach out to us, because you can register for courses without being enrolled, and you still accumulate all the credits for those courses you complete. So, and then when you apply in the future, they'll still all count, all those courses you've completed. So do not, if you're thinking, oh, I have to keep these deadlines in mind, not necessarily. Just reach out to us, and we can get you started with registrations and that sort of thing. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Antoine.
I see we have another question by Nadine in the chat. When can people get started? I guess that's somewhat related to what we've discussed as well. Students can get started as soon as the summer semester if they're interested, which, as I mentioned, starts on May 4th. So if you're one of those people that would like to get started studying online at McGill as soon as that, please reach out to us. We'll put our emails and phone numbers in the chat, and we can look at what possible courses you can start with this summer. And if you want to take a bit more time, then it goes in the fall 2023, which starts in September 2023. So those are kind of the two next semesters you can keep in mind to kind of plan ahead. Any other questions? Feel free to also unmute yourself if you want to just ask it directly. There's no problem there. Right in the chat. Oh, Lisa, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking about exams. So if you're taking the course online out of province, how are the exams delivered?
Oh,
I
so
can answer.
Yes.
I can answer.
I think any of our
regarding
instructors can answer this question.
Yeah, I can answer regarding the course that I teach. Basically, it's based on cases. So the assignments are cases, and you have to deliver on a specific date. I don't have a particular midterm exam or final exam. It's really you can work on assessments individually and with groups, and that is part of the program. So in my case, there's no fixed exam. It's just a deliverable.
Online, just to specify.
Online,
We'll
yeah.
deliver it online.
Online.
The question, Lisa, if it's out of province, all exams are online, assignments.
If I could just jump in here, sometimes, and depending on some of the courses that I teach, sometimes I have quizzes, and the quizzes are done online. So just to, I won't go into the whole detail, but you're online, and you have maybe 2 hours to complete. So once you go in, you can complete in 2 hours, and you have a windows of 2 or 3 days to complete that. But once you start, you have 2 hours. So it's done online, and it's very user friendly. Like I use it, so it's user friendly.
Thank you all for those responses. Ying Jia, I think you have your hand up.
Yes, I just want to know, is there any one of you who want to work for another 50 minutes? Because it is me who want to start as soon as possible. Yesterday I was about to start another program, property management. Then I saw this. Then I saw the date, the June 1st, which confused me. So I already sent everything to Nadej. If one of you want to work today, we can do it today. Otherwise, we do it tomorrow. Because all the administration things, we can do it online, even the payment, right? This is what I have done for my previous property management certification with the McGill logo that I want to have, because for the international point of view, I have to admit that I need this logo to tell my people back to China, I'm here and I want to do something good. And University of Toronto used to be good, but back to 2 years ago, they did a thing that Globe and Mail talked about it. I was very angry. They sent hell money thing during the Chinese New Year. And then, so we stopped talking. Now I'm still a little bit emotional. So
Ying Jiang, I'll jump in. So I can definitely stay on after this meeting with you. We can correspond, and I can definitely provide you with any more information and help you in your specific to your case. So if anything, I can give you my my contact information in the chat in the email. And what we can do is either after have another Zoom call, or you can call me on the telephone if that's easier. And I can definitely provide you with information and help out your specific case.
And I would love to have classmates like the Indigenous branch, because I did Ancestry 1CR, DNA. I don't have anything relating to Indigenous people. And my professional working environment is property management. So lots of things. So the Indigenous peoples are the first landlord of Canada. And I want to have my personal curiosity about our Madame Simons, what her French study progress. Okay, she said she got the job.
Ying Zhao, I'm going to have to interrupt you because we have a couple of other questions. But as I said, I will give you my contact information, and then we can always have a chat offline. All right. But in the interest of the few minutes we have, I'll just move on to our next question.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us today. Yes, so I see Carmen has her hand up.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Wei and Wichia. So I'm the Director of Indigenous Relations Initiatives, and thank you so much for participating this evening. I want to just share something with you. I've had the opportunity of also teaching in the program, and we've had a lot of Indigenous learners across Quebec and Canada that have participated and taken this program. And what's wonderful is that they worked not necessarily for provincial governments and federal governments, but they work for band councils and their own governments in their community, as well as in the education sector, social services sector, in public works sector. And what we found is that there was a lot of sharing between Indigenous and non-Indigenous learners. And it's amazing how many were able to share best practices. And I was to say maybe some worst practices, things that share what not to do. And so that's been really valuable to the learners, is being able to have those experiences, especially individuals that live and work in remote communities. And often the context of the remote communities is far from, from what is happening in urban communities and large cities. But those exchanges that are going on into the classrooms are really, really beneficial and valuable. And I know that Natalie, you spoke to that, and Nadesh, you spoke to that about the learning. So it's been very powerful those exchanges. And I know there are learners that are still in touch today with each other and actually communicating and sharing. And like I said, Context is different for where people work and where they live. But if they can share information where they can make differences in their communities, I think that is powerful. So I just wanted to share that piece of information, and I hope to see you in this particular program, because it's been really well designed. It designed in a way that it is really learner-centered. It's about working in teams. It's about working experiential. It's about moving away from the traditional exams that people, the fearful exams. It's not about the exam. It's about you walking away with competencies and acquiring these competencies and applying them into your real workplace so you can make a difference. We're not testing memory. We've done that. And, that's passe. We're not testing memory. What we want to do is be able to make sure that you take these competencies and you apply it in the way that you think it's best for you. So I just want to stop there and just with that thought. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carmen, for that. And for Flora, I'm going to send you the link for more information, since our graduate level program is under review, but there is a form that you can sign on our website just to get immediate information once it is all released. So in the interest of time, I do know that some of us might need to leave, but I want to thank everyone, our panelists, all the people working on this, and of course you for taking time out of your day to join us and asking such great questions and being so engaging with what we're sharing with you today. So I wish you all a wonderful evening. And again, Antoine had put it in the chat, but we will also be sending you the PowerPoint slide, so you can always get in contact with us to ask any of your more specific case-by-case questions, and we'll be more than happy to guide you through the way to admissions and to starting this program. So I wish you all a great evening, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.